Across South Asia, the impact of the US-Iran deal is beginning to show up in markets, budgets, and regional diplomacy. In Pakistan, Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb says the end of the Iran war could improve the country's economic projections for 2027, but he says it is still too early to revise the budget. Aurangzeb told Reuters that damaged energy infrastructure and disrupted supply chains will take time to return to normal.
We haven't decided the amounts. Certainly the tenor, the two tenors that we have done now are 3 years. Remember, there's no point in doing anything less than 3. As far as we're concerned, we would like to extend the maturities as far as we can, because as you can appreciate, the composition of our external debt is actually quite unique compared to some other countries. About 40-45% is multilaterals, which is concessional debt and very long term. And the second part of it is bilateral credit.
The conflict has pushed inflation back into double digits, and Pakistan is still assessing what he called the second and third order impact. The new budget targets 4% growth and 8.2% inflation. It also raises defense spending by 18% to 3 trillion rupees, while relying on higher tax revenue to keep Pakistan's $7 billion IMF program on track. Aurangzeb also said Pakistan may use commercial borrowing in the next financial year to change its creditor profile without increasing overall external debt. Islamabad is looking at panda bonds, euro bonds, dollar bonds, and a 5 rupee linked dollar settled issue. On digital assets, the finance minister said Pakistan will regulate crypto, tokenization, and exchanges before taxing the sector. In Parliament, Defense Minister Khwaja Asif said Pakistan's economy had left the intensive care unit. He said Pakistan had been close to default but was now solvent after the IMF bailout, even though the strict conditions were still being felt. Asif also said Pakistan could benefit from improved relations with Iran, especially if sanctions are relaxed and restrictions on Iranian oil and gas exports are removed. He said Balochistan could be the biggest beneficiary, but he also warned that insecurity in Balochistan is a long-running national problem, that unsafe roads in the province are a collective responsibility. Also in the National Assembly, Health Minister Mustafa Kamal criticized the NFC award formula, saying too much of the distribution is based on population. He said the current system gives provinces the wrong incentive by effectively rewarding higher population growth. Kamal welcomed the budget proposal to remove the 18% tax on contraceptives, saying it would help reduce the birth rate and ease pressure on schools, jobs, and hospitals. Pakistan's stock market also continued its rally. The benchmark KSE 100 index gained more than 3,300 points on Tuesday, closing above 180,000. Investors were responding to the federal budget and easing fears of oil supply distribution after the US-Iran peace understanding. In India, the government has temporarily blocked Telegram. Authorities say the messaging app was being used by cheating rackets to defraud students appearing for the NEET 2026 re-examination scheduled for June 21st. The exam had already been hit by allegations of leaked papers last month, leading to the cancellation of results for 2.3 million students and protests across India. The Telegram ban is in place until June 22nd. The government says the move was a last resort after earlier efforts to remove the content from the platform failed. But digital rights groups have criticized the restriction, calling it a disproportionate response that punishes ordinary users instead of addressing the system behind exam. Indian markets, meanwhile, moved higher for a third straight session. The Sensex rose 0.71%, while the Nifty 50 gained 0.57%, supported by lower oil fears and the US-Iran peace deal. The Iranian rupee also strengthened for a third consecutive session, rising 0.2% against the dollar. In Bangladesh, the government has summoned a senior Indian diplomat after an advisor to Prime Minister Tariq Rahman was reportedly detained and questioned for several hours at New Delhi airport. Foreign Minister Khalilur Rahman called the incident unexpected and unfortunate. The advisor Zayed Rahman had travelled to India to attend a conference before being stopped on arrival. The incident adds to existing tension between Dhaka and New Delhi. Relations had improved after Tariq Rahman's election victory earlier this year, but they remain strained by the legacy of the 2024 uprising that ousted Sheikh Hasina. She has remained in India despite repeated requests from Bangladesh for her extradition. Dhaka has also accused Indian authorities of trying to push undocumented migrants across the border without following agreed repatriation procedures. Both sides recently agreed to improve intelligence sharing and coordinate border patrols, but the migrant issue remains unresolved. In Sri Lanka, shares closed nearly unchanged. The CSE All Share Index settled at 22,377.29, almost flat from the previous session. Gains in consumer discretionary and consumer staple stocks were offset by losses in utilities. Trading volume fell, but foreign investors were net buyers, purchasing stocks worth 633.8 million Sri Lankan rupees. Domestic investors were net sellers. In Nepal, the new government is turning to China for technology, investment, and infrastructure cooperation. Foreign Minister Shishir Khanal told Reuters that Nepal wants to grow faster, create jobs at home, and reduce its trade deficit with China. During his visit to Beijing, Khanal discussed cooperation in agriculture, health, tourism, science, and technology. The government, led by Prime Minister Balin Shah, came to power after Gen Z-led protests against the previous administration. It is now trying to convince investors that Nepal is open for business after years of political instability. But Kathmandu is also trying to balance carefully between major powers. Khanal's first overseas trip was to India. Nepal has also hosted US officials since April. And the government is in active discussions with both Starlink and Huawei over internet services, though no decision has been made. China says Nepal remains important to its neighborhood diplomacy, especially in power generation, highways, ports, and aviation. In a nutshell, Pakistan is looking at possible economic upside after the end of the Iran war. India has blocked Telegram ahead of a major medical entrance exam retest. Bangladesh has summoned an Indian diplomat over the treatment of a government advisor in New Delhi. Sri Lanka's market has closed almost flat. And Nepal's new government is looking to China for technology investment and infrastructure support.